Good afternoon or early good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the masterclass on profit-oriented revenue management, right? Now, before we begin, right, I'm actually going to be moderating the session, and with me, Professor Detlef Remy, Mr. Anders Johansson. Now, if we are already moving into TRM, total revenue management, right? Why is there a need to look at PORM, profit-oriented revenue management? So what does PORM entail? And can you unpack it for us, please?
Why not? Okay. Yeah, why? It's a good question. A bit cynical, a bit provocative, because we don't see really much major developments in the industry to apply already TRM. So the question is maybe justified, why already PORM? Quite simple. It's not about revenues only, it's about profit. If we focus too much on revenue maximization, we might get it wrong, maybe even negative bottom line. So it's about profit. We bring profit to the bank and not the revenues. That's the main idea about this, to look at the bigger picture, especially now post-COVID. It's all about profitability.
Yeah, and we are going to give you three key concepts in PORM, and we are also talking about the commercial team's role. We are going to split that up a little bit on the different roles in the commercial team, and then we are going to give you, set you on the way to get started as well.
And the whole idea is, many of you might or might not run a kind of profit-oriented revenue management. Maybe you do it or you don't do it, whatever. But just give you some guidance on this way and maybe some insights and some ideas for this journey. So as I already outlined, it's really shifting the focus from purely focus on revenue to profit. And of course, it's still time to recover from the COVID losses, isn't it? And profit is what you bring to the bank and not the revenues.
Yeah, so focus on profitability. And so why is that so important is a really good question also. And I think that it has been a lot of focus and a lot of good focus on the top line and on revenue, but it has also some factors that doesn't work well, and that is that while you optimize revenue, at the same time you could also actually decrease the profit. So that's why we are focused on profit revenue management.
The very basic concept as revenue management was introduced in the 70s, God, it's a long time ago, right? It was really maximizing revenue without adding any resources. So no extra cost factors. And nowadays we see more and more cost factors added. So it affects too often the bottom line.
Yeah, so we have three key concepts. So the first one is to talk about the profit levels. So we have identified 4 profit levels in a hotel P&L, and it's a little bit different than the traditional uniform of accounts. So and then we will talk a little bit about flow through and what does that mean, and then marginal revenue and cost and profit. So if we start with the 4 profit levels, so the first one is net revenue. So what is net revenue? So that is gross revenue decreased with customer acquisition cost.
And so, if I may step in,
yeah.
Ask ourselves, do we know our CAC? Do we know our customer acquisition cost?
Yeah.
Who
knows about their customer acquisition cost? The total customer acquisition cost. I would say no one knows about that. So that's something we need to start to focus on. And why? The question is, why do we need to do that? Because if you are a revenue manager, you're incentivized probably on RevPAR, top line. So if you're a clever revenue manager, you say that, okay, I will sell more rooms through booking because that's a gross revenue, and not sell as much reservations through Expedia because that's net revenue. So my revenue will be higher if I work with travel agents and booking.com and so on, because the invoice from booking, that comes to a lower part of the P&L, and that's not my concern as the revenue manager. I don't care about that. I'm incentivized on top line. So you can actually sell more on top line and then decrease the profit. So the thinking here is that the revenue manager should be incentivized on net RevPAR instead of RevPAR. And then they will start to think about what is the most efficient distribution channel. And then the next level of the KPIs is the gross profit. So that's without the cost of goods sold. So what is cost of goods sold? That's the production cost of a hotel room, for example. So laundry, cleaning, amenities, and some other things. So that is also maybe not the responsibility for the revenue manager. That's operations, of course.
And what we see so far also that it's growing the job responsibilities for revenue managers, right? It was first revenue management only, then they should venture out to F&B and to spa. Now they should also venture out to cost management. To have a look at the cost, to get an idea about this and to control it to a certain extent.
Exactly. But all revenue managements in the whole world will say no, because we are already overworked. We cannot handle all the revenue sources because it's too much. If I get an assistant, okay, I can look into that. And then the third level is gross operating profit. You all know about that. So now we're back to the uniform system of accounts, and the EBITDA is the fourth level.
Flow-through sounds complex, difficult to monitor. Can you break it down for us, please?
Yeah, so flow-through is the answer to the question, how much of the revenue is actually going down to profit? And you measure that as a percentage of revenue. So if you have $100 in revenue and make $50 in extra profit, then the flow-through is 50%. Pretty easy, but what do you need to know in order to understand the flow-through? You need to know the gross revenue, the customer acquisition cost, the cost of goods sold, operational cost, and then you see the flow-through. I think we have a slide where we explain that a little bit. Yeah, so here you see the P&L, and then on the, it's this year compared to last year, and then you have the difference. And then you see on the difference, that's the marginal flow-through, and that is the interesting part. And here you see that the flow-through is actually 49%. So 49% of the extra revenue that you increased between the years is profit. And if you compare to this year and last year, you see the marginal profit is higher, 49% compared to 41 and 42. So in many hotels, it's not like this. This is a good example, but it could actually be lower, that you sell more, but your costs increased a little bit more, and then you have a lower flow-through, which is not good, of course.
Take the example, if you develop packages, whatever, and you're not knowing what the cost structure, the right time to set the right prices, you run in problems and you have a negative flow-through. So you have to be very careful about this.
So who in here measures flow-through? No? Yes? Yeah?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yeah, we've got
in your hotels. Yeah, super.
a few who are already involved in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So marginal profit, that's the profit on the margin. And that's why is that concept interesting? It's interesting because it's thinking about the extra revenue that you can make. So if you sell a little bit more, you upgrade or sell extra products, then you need to understand what is the marginal cost of selling this extra product. So if you serve a breakfast buffet, and then you say that, okay, I will sell one more breakfast to a guest. What is the profit of that in percent? It's 100%. because there is no marginal cost for a breakfast buffet, because that person that comes at one extra person that will eat from that buffet, it's not going to cost you anything. If that person doesn't come, you will throw it away anyway.
Just one aspect, a look at the bigger picture, what we discussed yesterday in CCRM. Of course, you have to be careful about this, because if you are strictly focused on this, you might doing quite well on this, but from the marketing perspective, you might damage your brand in terms of overcrowding. And take the example of airport launches, whatever, they also sell extra.
Yeah.
We lose a bit this aspect of exclusivity. So you have to be very careful about this. But in norms, in terms of revenue management, and in terms of profit-oriented revenue management, it makes sense to look at this very carefully.
Yeah. So one more thing. So have you ever talked to your food and beverage manager and say that I will sell an extra breakfast and you will get nothing? And what would they say? No, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to agree to that. So in order to understand this better, you need to understand and explain the marginal cost to all people involved in the hotel.
Well, I'm just going to interject and throw something into the discussion which we haven't quite planned for. I remember in my days as sales and marketing director, the perennial discussion with the head of F&B is always to agree on the cost of breakfast, a chargeback internally, right? Department to department. So it's sometimes a hair-pulling exercise because they obviously wanted to push it as high as possible, and we want to get it at cost plus, right? And then agree on a figure that could work, that ultimately could benefit both F&B and sales and marketing. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been in that same situation too many times.
All right. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so let's move to the commercial team's role. And we'll start with the commercial team goal. So next slide, please, and then we'll...
It appears that the commercial team needs to align their strategies. So the question is, who's involved and what do they have to do?
And are the goals justified? What we discussed yesterday a bit yesterday in CCRM, right? You have to have one goal where marketing, sales, and revenue management all agree to this, and then you can run it.
Yeah, so we are focusing on net revenue. So you should set the goal for net revenue. What is the net revenue goal? And here you see the revenue mix, or the revenue is the same size in two different cases, but the customer acquisition cost is different. And then you have a different net revenue. So if you incentivize the revenue manager on RevPAR, they will get their bonus because the RevPAR is the same. And then the company will lose money because the profitability is not the same. So the goal for the revenue team or commercial team should be focused on net RevPAR, because the whole commercial team should be responsible for the customer acquisition cost. Yeah. Detlef, or...
Do we want to just walk through them on the various...
We can walk through, because we leave a bit space then for Q&A. I think we have a chance for Q&A. So walk quickly through this, more or less quickly. But of course, as I said, it is all they have to talk to each other, and not if there's certain preference for marketing, whatever. And often enough we see that the marketing team is doing, for example, campaign planning for high seasons or such things, or packages, which is not needed because it pays off anyway. Yeah. Let's move on to the next slide, the role of sales.
Very different question.
Yeah.
Back to cost of acquisition. From an OTA perspective, it's quite easy. We can know the net commission. But which level do you...
Everybody gets to hear.
Very baby voice. Okay. So I think from a CAC perspective, when it comes to OTA commission, it's quite black and white. You see the commission report or travel agency, it's quite straightforward. But then what level would you recommend to go down when it comes to the sales part? Local sales team, you have the national sales team, then you have the global sales team. Then when you add in the loyalty, even though it's our own program, we of course have a fees to run it.
Yeah.
So if you start stripping all of that off, I guess then you come to a zero revenue. I'm kidding, but I mean, which level would you recommend to go down to? Because
all the way.
There are discussions on this, and from the academic side, I would look at this differentiated picture than, for example, Anders from the corporate world and from his perspective. The point is, if you add everything on, sales, as a commission, transaction, sales, loyalty, whatever, you end up in a not comparable position. That means you cannot compare any more apples with apples, whatever, So it might make sense at the moment to say, okay, let's look at commission, transaction-based fees, etc., and that's it. Because if it goes down to loyalty, take for example 4 Seasons, no loyalty program, whatever, you cannot compare against other brands. What's the point? So in terms of a bit like this RevPAR discussion, to have apples with apples, I think what is comparable is really commission and transaction based. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really agree. That's good that we are not in agreement, because I think you should go all the way down. So commissions, transaction fees, loyalty program costs, and also all other costs. So you should be able to find the answer to the question, is a reservation brought in for a corporate contract by my salespeople more or less expensive than a booking? But that is a little bit tricky.
Yes, Anders is right what he's saying. But the point is, I look at this a bigger picture. No, you look at the bigger picture. We look both at the bigger picture, but different bigger pictures. For me, it's all about benchmarking comparison. If you don't have it, you have also problems with motivation, incentivize, whatever, such things. But the point is also, he's wonderful to say, what was it? Comes back to me. Step in.
So, okay.
Sorry, no, I know it.
It's that time of day. It's that time of the day.
We have, I think 2 years ago, a roundtable, one more about sales. Take the example of sales and sales team. There's a discussion ongoing, we don't really need sales team anymore, right? It's coming anyway by internet channels, blah, blah, blah. If you take it this approach, which is unfortunately correct, you have to review a whole structure of your hotel organization. It's getting dangerous because you lose a bit maybe on people, right?
No, I think that's exactly the point I'm making, because when it comes to channels, so like GDS has a cost. OTA has a cost. Hotel Direct has a cost.
Of course.
Yeah.
It depends how you rate it. But that's how I understand if what you're recommending here is, if you start making some of your off hotel costs, above hotel costs,
But this brings us back to the big picture also, direct against indirect. Always saying direct is cheaper. What a rubbish. It is not necessarily cheaper. It could be much more expensive, much more. So you raise a very good point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a friend that is a GM for a hotel in Stockholm, and he is tracking exactly the cost for direct bookings. And he said that if I'm lucky, it's around 12%. And if I'm unlucky, it's actually higher than reservation through booking. But one more thing before we move on. It's like, what is the cost of the commission cost? So the commission cost is easy to measure if it's an invoice from booking. But it's not that easy if it's not measured at all. If it's a net rate, what is the commission? The commission is the difference between what the customer pays and what you get. And you have to factor in all these net reservations also in the customer acquisition cost. So it gets a little bit complicated, but let's move on.
And to add one last factor to this discussion, I'm very much in favor of using OTAs or working with them, billboard effect, etc., brand exposure, whatever. But once you have a customer in-house, it's up to you to convert them. It's a totally different consideration once forever. Reservations.
So, are we going to speak into it, or you think they pretty much can make sense of this? Okay, I'm moving on. In the interest of time. Now that we understand the rationale for PORM and who is involved, how do we get started?
So we have 10 points how to get started, and we will go through them quickly, every one at a time. So the first thing is probably getting up to knowledge. So understand the marginal profit and also spread that to all the departments in the hotel. So you have the same view on what is this, and also the same view about how can you improve profitability and those.
But in general, situation in our industry is good. Marginal costs are rather low. If you are a car manufacturer, you have a problem. If it comes to extra car you have to produce. In our case, we are blessed. We have low marginal cost. We just don't use it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then you start to think about the products that you are going to develop. And yesterday we talked a little bit about customer-centric revenue management. So that's the next step that we are working on right now, to think more about that. And we are too focused on within our own bubbles. So it's like my way or the highway. We say that these are our offerings. We never ask the customer, what do they really want? We guess. But we could still guess pretty okay, and we can have some, not too many choices, because that's also something that has been researched a lot. If you give too many choices, you actually sell less. So you have to balance the number of choices. So you still need to understand a little bit more about the customer and what are their needs. But develop products and make sure that they have high profitability also.
And it's similar, of course, with the packages, which is a challenge on its own. It's really, for me, art and science to create a package. If I look at our students, Gen Z, if I have a marketing class and I ask them to develop packages, sometimes you wonder, I thought they are the creative ones, they are the future, but sometimes they're looking very backward. Yeah, so it's not easy to create packages, special profitable ones, and then also which are in the interest of customers and they are looking for it. Okay?
Yeah, and then it is marketing and sales strategies, and also we quickly passed the sales or the pricing part also. But so it's about pricing, and it's about pricing in the right way, so the profitability on all these extra products or packages is the right one.
We have to just to put a break on Brandon a bit. Regarding the distribution channels, who is running monthly distribution audits, if I may ask? Who is running monthly distribution audits in terms of product? Yeah? Okay. One.
Yeah, I mean, centrally, in our case, things are done centrally, and then we flag the discrepancies. When I talk about audit, one can argue it's going almost every day or every week, because that's part of the strategy.
But is it the question, do they bring in the production as promised or agreed on, or is it that they cover certain niches or certain group business or certain highly profitable customers, high spending or higher ADR customers? What are the criteria for this?
We are doing, and I'm sure the other chains are doing the same, is we have quarterly reviews with Booking.com, Expedia, and let's say the bigger players are good at. That's at a macro level above hotel. At hotel level on a weekly basis, the commercial meetings are looking at the channel strategy, channel distribution area, which channels bringing which area and stuff like that. So if you're using the word audit, then if I replace a review, yes. If it's an audit about where should we be going, and that's determined through about the hotel discussion with the hotel, that stop or reduce hotel direct, increase brand.com, stuff like that. That's more of a strategy. That only takes time to come through because we have a review maybe after 6 months and see what's happening.
Okay.
Now I'm going to ask a question of our two experts in the room. Some hotel owners are of the view, right, that instead of developing a strategy to optimize the distribution channels, it would be far easier to offload that room inventory to the OTAs and let them manage it. Would that not work?
Yeah, great, wonderful. That's one really amazing point, and I think we should agree to this, right? No, of course it's rubbish. We should have, sorry, I should not use the language, right? We should have the right mix, right? The right distribution mix. Come on, and I step in, because otherwise I use the wrong language.
So it's a very good question, and a problem that we have had in the industry is like we do both at the same time. It's like I think Marriott actually tried out using OTAs only in Italy. They were saying that, okay, we don't need a sales organization, we skip the marketing, we just trust the OTAs, and we test that in a specific market. I have not seen any results, so I don't know what happened, but that means that that was sort of a right decision. It's like we go all the way in for the OTAs, but we remove our salespeople, our marketing people, and so on. So it's not everything at the same time. But if we have the mix, we say that, okay, we want a little bit of OTAs, we want a little bit of direct, we still want to keep our sales, then the customer acquisition cost is probably creeping up. And that's what we are worried about in the hotel industry.
There are a couple of answers. So first of all, not all the eggs in one basket. That's the first answer. The second answer is, how do I know that I'm the first it comes to mind of Booking or Expedia if it comes to my inventory? Do they have the best of interest of my hotel in mind, or maybe of others as well, and so on? So all the answers show a level of negativity. That means don't go for it at all. Yeah?
Yeah.
There was also, I think, before COVID, that Booking.com was offering small hotels, I think it was in Singapore as well, that they take over their distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah? What a wonderful idea. I thought, that's great, yeah?
I think it is a wonderful idea.
Oh,
if
really?
you're a very small hotel, it's
No.
like, what can you do? It's like you only pay 15% for a customer acquisition cost.
Yeah, but there's a but.
Yeah.
Just think about this, what Booking.com is doing for you. They send you the customer, but there's something missing, data.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Or take the example what's coming up nowadays in the restaurant industry. They follow the same blind belief, okay, we have to work with intermediaries, whatever. And the intermediaries getting stronger and stronger, taking over and keeping the data, and the restaurants just pay for it. What a stupid idea. Sorry, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Still
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
Upselling, cross-selling. Yeah. I think it happens already. As if you look at the bigger brands, they're doing quite well on this. You book, and then a few weeks later, you get an email with upselling, cross-selling opportunities. It happens. Could they do better? Of course. Personalized, customized, whatever. But there is some movement already there.
Yeah. And then you can always work on your product and the guest experience. And also think about and work more on the guest journey to actually lay out the guest journey and analyze all the touch points and see where can you upsell and where can you improve the guest experience.
This is an aspect of guest reviews. It's a bit stupid, right? Because if you go back many years ago, the hoteliers knew our customers, right? And when they said hello, welcome, and then they said bye-bye, have a good trip, and then all such things, So they knew our customers, no guest reviews. Nowadays we have this, and they forgot to focus on this, right? But people inform themselves, before they book a hotel or a journey, they inform themselves what are the reviews about this hotel XYZ, right? And if there are no responses and bad reviews, you know the result, right? So it's a bit strange. It's in our hands.
Yeah, and yes, you have to keep up with the technology. So you need an RMS. If you don't have an RMS, you need to buy one. So, and if you don't have a CRM where you have a lot of information and data about your most important guests, you probably should buy one. And the PMS, maybe you need to upgrade. It's like now it's probably a time to go for a cloud-based PMS that is sort of still maybe not superior yet to on-prem based one, but it's moving into that direction. So it's a good time to upgrade your tech stack.
Point number 10.
Yeah.
Use
Point number 10.
Point number 10. These young people, close to our both hearts, and as mine, and I guess Brendan as well, is about data, isn't it?
Yeah.
Data. And data are so important. My old story about a big hotel in Singapore, they spent millions of marketing dollars in a market in Southeast Asia. They got bookings from this market, and they thought it's all wonderful. And when they checked a bit more the details based on data, the marketing investment was there, and the booking came not via direct, but via OTAs. So they paid twice. Data help you to uncover such patterns and to react on this, isn't it? Data analytics, data.
I was just about to ask the question, right? So why is there a need to focus on data analytics, and how does that impact PORM? You probably have just answered the first part of the question.
I was so free, you know.
And well, to conclude this, it's like it's all these 10 points. So it might be it might sound complicated, but we heard in another session that you should try to simplify things also. So I think the commercial team in a hotel has a very, very easy job, and you only have to think about two things. You have to attract the guests. That's easy, right? With some marketing and so on, and a good product and good reviews. And then you have to maximize the sales per guest. So only two things. Attract them
and to retain the customers.
Yeah,
They should come back, please.
But we know that there are only a very, very, very few that...
That's for the next masterclass, by the way.
Okay, next year. Yeah. But it is true. Attract them, sell more, optimize their revenues, and also get them back.
Yeah, don't lose your customers. Yeah.
Also, this is this overselling or this over-aggressively selling approach, which we see in some places. And we have to be very careful about this customer. Still, it's a customer experience. It's the experience of the customer. It's not our money necessarily, which should come automatically if they're happy and satisfied and they love all our efforts. Yeah, and keep it simple and sweet.
Yeah, and we already have written a white paper about profit-oriented revenue management. So it's available at HSMAI or
for free.
If you want, yeah, for free. And if you don't find it, come to us and we'll direct you so you can download the white paper. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Now we open it up for a couple of questions. Unless you're in a great hurry to be heading out to the reception. Yeah.
Yeah. Question. We want some questions or comments.
So we learn from you and we're doing better than next year.
Yeah.
So this sort of carries on from your question earlier about cost of acquisition. And the idea was, you mentioned after the question, get them attracted via OTA and then convert them into direct. But then I thought the argument was that OTA is actually a cheaper cost of acquisition. So if you've got them, why would you then retain them via your own channel? Because that's more expensive.
Good point.
So is the value in getting their data outweighs the cost of acquisition? Is that what it is?
I argue, and this, of course, across the whole spectrum, I argue, once you pay the commission for the OTA, get them and get the data, get access to the new customer and convert them to direct booking, the marketing costs going brutally down the next time he books. Yeah? Because he not only he knows the hotel, you don't need to explain, he knows the channel and all such things. So your customer acquisition costs going down. But if you, let's say, focus only on direct, as to answer the second part of your question, you focus only, let's say, 90% on direct. And the investments you have to take is IT, infrastructure, software, Salesforce, etc., loyalty program, and all such things. Then it's getting really costly. Yeah?
Direct here means brand.com, not direct as in...
Yeah, that's what, I know, it's the next thing. Yeah. Brand.com and then property level, I know, yeah.
To your point, that would be a cheaper cost than a booking. But then if you look at the lifelong value of that customer,
that's the thing we didn't even cover this time, CLV, customer lifetime value. This is also where sometimes I get desperate on our industry, on our own industry. If you look at, for example, the car industry, BMW, you start with a Mini, you move BMW 1 Series, you go for your career 5 Series, and you end up with Rolls-Royce, right? In our hotel industry, they don't think about customer lifetime value. Look, even my CLV is quite good, although I'm quite old. Yeah, yours, all very good. Are we working on this? No. It's a shame, isn't it? So there's much potential in this.
Another quick comment to customer acquisition cost is like we were very focused on cost. So we think about customer acquisition cost through booking or customer acquisition cost through direct, but I'm more like the revenue guy. So I think that a direct reservation opens up a lot of possibilities for upsell and cross-sell, because then you have the name and the guest and the information and all these kind of things from the time of booking, and you have an opportunity all the way up until the day of arrival, and then on the day of arrival and all through the stay. But in booking, you get the name, and then you can't do anything. It's a lot of opportunities in driving direct business, not just from a cost perspective.
And also I wanted to add to that, in that situation, obviously the revenue opportunities are within the control of the hotel, not through the OTA, travel agent, third party, and la-di-da, right?
Yeah.
Any other final question? Ladies at the back, you want to share a perspective or ask a question? Nope, we're good. So I have a...
No comments from Marriott. You probably have something to share, yeah? You're the leader of...
trademark registered, not meant to be shared in the public domain.
Vanity is definitely a very book direct focused company.
Yeah.
So very interesting perspectives from everyone that for me to take back
Yeah.
as well.
But it's also in basic terms, and I guess I have a very strong marketing background. Once you know your customer and you have the data, you know the likes and preferences, whatever, you can really play the game, right? And you don't start again. And if you get it from the OTAs or our friends, whatever, you know, it starts from the scratch, you know, and once you build it up and then you have to again stretch, whatever. I take my example here. I said, I think every year, I stayed here 4 or 5 times to the Swiss Hotel in Singapore. The Swiss Hotel, I was a walk-in customer. I was booking via booking.com. I was booking via Circle, the Swiss Hotel loyalty program. So 3 different customer profiles. There are 3 different Professor Remis in the database, maybe 4, I don't know. Yeah. And it's also not an issue of data management, also data cleansing, whatever, but the potential is there. And of course, if I go there and they remember me and my name and my title and my likes and my dislikes, I'm in such a good mood, I spend more automatically, isn't it? It's simple, it's so simple, but we fail on this.
And I think most, especially now, most of the customers that are coming, they've already planned what they want to do before they enter the hotel, right? So the upselling and the cross-selling which you need to do definitely before they check in or they reach the hotel. Secondly, also the fact that whether it's training or anything else at that matter, they prefer to have very less interaction. So if I'm checking into a hotel in Singapore, I've taken a 7 or 8 hour flight. I don't want to have a conversation with the front desk. I quickly want to just get my keys and then move into my room.
That's the difference between you. You are young, I'm old. I like this idea of high touch and maybe a bit high tech. But his generation is really high tech. Take the Swiss Hotel. If you go to the Swiss Hotel here in Singapore, you feel like Changi Airport. You check in, self-check-in. And I always ask myself, I should pay $600 and I do self-check-in like Changi Airport? There's something wrong. So as we are different, and I disagree in a second term also. Customers spend quite often money unplanned. Yeah. So yes, upselling happens before, I agree. But once they have the right mood, they spend more.
It depends actually. And coming back to your point, mostly, I mean, if I'm a destination property, I might have some unplanned things I want to do with the property. If I'm at a city property, I probably won't like to spend in the hotel, right? Okay. I would rather step out, go to the shopping or go somewhere else and all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
So it depends upon different hotels, what kind of strategies they want to cater to. But I think hoteliers these days, and even now, from a booking perspective, whenever I'm going to the booking of the website of any hotel, I don't get to see much options when I'm trying to book some ancillary revenues, right? So I would love to book a spa while I'm making a booking. And things like that, right? So I don't get that.
You make a very good point, you know, and I read, I think 2 years ago, that several plans this, right, to add these options, not happening now. It's true. Our industry is so much behind. You cannot book a restaurant, you cannot book a spa, whatever, you cannot. And it's all missed opportunities, isn't it? It's a shame.
I think it's more of a system legacy issue to your point. I mean, if you think about Amazon being a perfect example from a customer experience where you can put things in a basket, quick to now.
Yeah.
I think our current CRSs and all that stuff can't handle that. And I think things are changing, by the way. But
No, I think it's, I mean, not just from a CRS point of view, even from a booking experience. Like if I go to booking.com, my experience is so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I just have to do 2-3 clicks and I'm good to go. But if in a hotel
clicks.
scenario, probably it's like 5-6 clicks. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to load, the website doesn't load and things like that. So from an experience point of view, whoever's coming, whether it's your generation, my generation, all the generations, they still want to have a good experience. And I think from a hotel website, it's the best experience. That's the first touch point that a customer will have of your brand, of your hotel, right? That's a website.
that's why OTAs are milking it, right? If you think about when you make a booking on booking.com, the amount of emails, follow-up, after you check out, all
Yeah.
those things
Of course.
are taken care of.
They are so good.
And our things, we are like, oh, he checked out, okay, now what do I do next? No, we don't follow up after we get
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that the hotel needs to do from their brand perspective, and we always talk about direct bookings and things like that. But unless and until we fix our website, and that's the first thing that I would experience in a hotel, like I said, right? Unless they fix that up, it's very difficult to convert the indirect to direct, and obviously bring the CAC down, because the more the customer visits your website, the more bookings he makes through that channel.
Yeah. But you make a good point also, and if I go back to this generation issue, as in a not negative way at all, seriously. But you know our Generation Z, I have your students here. Shannon is one of my students, now internship here at MBS, right? This generation is grown up, digitalization, whatever. They don't mind to have self-check-in, right? They don't mind to not to communicate anymore, not to have any personal interaction, whatever, right? COVID was very helpful in this case, no communication. I always ask my students, what is this here? They say, it's a phone. I say, when have you used it last time to phone somebody, to talk to somebody? 1 month ago, half a year ago. I always wonder, yeah? And this is getting dangerous then. If this goes ahead the next 10 years, we have a problem in our hotel industry, especially the Salesforce. Yeah?
Yeah.
But
on this conversation for ancillary next. Hi, everybody, Dan.
which company?
Plus grade. Is this on? Yeah.
Yeah.
So plus grade. So in plus grade, what do? We deliver premium upgrades into airlines and into airlines, cruise, rail, and now into hotels. But just what we so what we see is across these different verticals, it's different. Like certain what we do know based on the past 15 years of doing this in airlines is that passengers have 2 wallets. They have the initial wallet at point of booking, and then they have a secondary wallet pre-arrival, 7 days before arrival, whatever. When they're thinking about my flight. So, and they have the same 2 wallets when booking hotels.
But you have to add something. Sorry to interrupt you. You have to add something. Once the initial booking is done, payment is done, and then weeks later the pain is gone,
Okay, that's the 2.
Yeah.
then is your chance to upsell. The pain is gone, right?
That's the 2 wallets.
Right.
So they've already paid the MasterCard off, and that's all done. So now they have a new one. Pre-arrival, so they're all
Yep.
excited. What we find from a hotel perspective is it's like 50-50. Certain hotel companies love front desk upsell. Other hotel companies who loathe it. Certain hotel companies who love it are making a ton of money on front desk upsell. Other hotel companies are not. So it's all pre-arrival messaging. And what we also, and here's just an example of from what we do there. And we do upsells for 90 airlines around the world, from Singapore to Qantas to Cathay, whatever. And if you ever received like an invitation to upgrade, an invitation to bid on that upgrade, that's all powered by Busway. And we do it for 90 airlines. What we just released for 3 airlines in Europe and North America is the ability you're bidding against, like within 5 minutes, you're like, I'm gonna get that seat in business because it's a 10-hour flight or a 4-hour flight, whatever. That's good. So
I like it.
the point of sale, bidding and buying from airline, that's gonna go into, well, faster.
I love it. Even if it's a sales pitch, I love it. And I remember my times pre-COVID. I was flying via Middle East as an Etihad to Germany, and 1 week before the flight, I booked business class. They offered me first class, and I have to make a kind of auction, kind of bid. The bid was between $0 and I think 2,000 Sing dollar. It took me some hours to think where to put it, yeah, and some attempts. But I tell you, I was flying a couple of times first class for absolute low bid on my business class ticket. I couldn't believe it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I guess so.
So thank you very much for that. But Etihad is is our premier, because you know the
No, you have done a great job. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Links are sponsored by
yeah. I will charge him
Yeah.
later. Yeah. Thank you very.
Yeah.
We can apply that to the hotel environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bidding for the upgrades of the suites. I'm sorry, I think this is now intermittent. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at websites, going back to what you mentioned, websites, I remember the example, I think it's changed, thanks God. There's a Hilton Hotel in Berlin. I think they have 25 offers, but it's all standard rooms and premium and junior suite, whatever. But the differentiator between the different classes, sometimes just the size of the television, a bit bigger. And I thought, bloody hell, are you stupid?
Too many
Too
choices.
many choices.
Yeah.
Yeah? You really ask yourself, what is the difference? Pay $20 more for what?
Okay, any more questions or comments or feedback? Otherwise, we'll go for
Thank you for
drinks. Yeah.
participation and being here for the masterclass. We hope that you've taken away some insights that are going to be valuable, that are going to assist, I think, your revenue strategy going forward. Enjoy the evening. Yeah. Have a great rest of the week. Nice weekend ahead. Thank you.
Safe travel.
Thank you very much. Yeah.